going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the number one podcast in the world. It is Confessions. Go ahead. Sit down so we can have all the boys here. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining us this evening. I feel like today it's an official new start. Last week, me and Raul got a little test run, but now the boys are all back. Everyone's back in the groove. Brother Jerome, it's been a minute since we're all sitting here.
No, that was a test run for all three of us in one spot now. They are the guinea pigs. Now it's like, okay, now is it feasible to add someone else?
Yeah.
That's what we're testing right now.
And I don't know if one of y'all wants to pull up the stream because, now I can't because, so one of y'all can pull up the stream. And we're going to be doing something new today. We're just adding new layers on top of everything. And so everything sound good? The audio sound good? Audio, visual, everything needs to sound great. But today we're reading out of Genesis 31, Mark chapter 12, and Psalms chapter 6. We have 3 messages, 3 words of hope to leave with y'all. And so, we gotta. Y'all want to go ahead and get into it? Are we all prepared? Are we all ready?
Yeah, I believe it sounds pretty good, and I think I'm prepared, bro. Are we ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm gonna lead the way. I'll see how this goes.
Are you gonna start?
No.
Okay, I was like, it sounded like you said he wanted to start.
I said y'all can lead the way. I'll follow.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
we can lead the way.
Yeah.
All right. But we sound good? Sound good? Look good?
So okay, I'm also part of the audience too. I've been doing trying to move over here and whatnot, so I'm excited to see how it goes. So we do the TED Talk before we even start reading, right? Or do we read and then do a TED Talk?
No, you are doing.
So
I guess
we don't
just
read at all, no more than.
We don't read at all. We do it all on our own time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
right.
I mean, I read it, but not thoroughly. So I did it today though, but I'm ready. I got notes and everything.
But we'll see exactly how prepared you are because me and Raul already know. Going into this, preparation is key.
Yeah. No, just because the main reason was, for me at least, when we brought it up, was when I'm in sitting down and listening, I kind of get bored. I'm easily you got to catch my attention. You got to keep me hooked too. And I start wondering what usually keeps me hooked? It's usually when they're speaking, not reading necessarily and kind of just reading out of a textbook, but more speaking about it and being very passionate about it. That's what's usually got me hooked and up in my seat and watching and listening, engaged, rather than just reading out of a book and I'm falling asleep.
See, and that's where,
where
I kind of get it because I go, this will be kind of a little bit of context for me. My internship, the whole end project was a presentation. And so it's kind of cool to see. It's kind of cool to see how I just did that, and now that's the direction we're kind of going. And one thing though I do want to avoid though is turning this into work. I was dreading doing the presentation. I was like, oh, these people don't know what I'm talking about. But they say have fun with it, be passionate about it. No one knows what you're talking about except you. It's they're gonna believe you. You could tell them the sky is red. But then you show them whatever you did, and they're going to believe you. They're not going to question you because I don't know what half that stuff means, but I'll take your word for it. And I guess that's kind of the direction we're going to go with it. But I don't want it to be I got another project. Oh, I got another presentation.
The main part is what me and Raul kind of came down to. Narrowing it really down is just preparation. Mm-hmm. Doing things with intention. We've talked about this so many times before. And the last thing that I want to appear as is unprepared, because lack of preparation is a reflection almost of how much you care. If you don't really come in prepared, then how much do you really care about it? And we want our audience to be able to be engaged and be, looking forward to what we have to present. And we want to give, right? We want to give to the audience because I know all of us want to be able to inspire. We want to be able to share and grow with the audience. But it's hard to do that whenever you're reading on the fly for the first time and having to come up with stuff on the fly. I think that's why the recap episodes, once we took a few days to think about things, we would come back and we would have really good episodes because we thought about it. We were able to connect and relate to what we had read. And so now essentially that's what we're doing, but we're doing it beforehand. We're doing all the work leading up to the episode, and then once we go live, now it's like, okay, the audience can be assured that we have something prepared for them to listen to.
And something that I was kind of talking to Derek about the last time how I went about it for this new process that we're kind of doing is just evolving it into my daily routine. You know, it's overall, yeah, it's for our audience, it's to help them and to help them grow and inspire, but I like to look at it as this is knowledge for us as well. You know, like it's a good thing to implement right before bed. Like, hey, let me read a quick chapter, then boom. And then this go around, this second week, I had a little bit more fun doing it and actually practicing it and getting a little bit more comfortable with the speaking aspect of it and actually knowing and personalizing it rather than kind of just, okay, hey, I'm going to be real structured and real uptight about this and that.
Yeah, kind of to where it doesn't feel like a job where you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But I like the idea when you first mentioned to me, I think the earlier was it keeps me accountable too. If I don't, the only time I'm read the Bible is not just on the podcast now. It's going to make me read it on my own. I mean, even if I did already, but the day where I'm like, oh, I don't want to, well, now having more of a reason to read. So I like that.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see how this goes. He's going first.
Yeah. I think Raul's going to go ahead and lead us off, but I think we need to start with a prayer. I think you did it last, so I think it's my turn to pray. So I'll go ahead and do that if y'all want to bow y'all's heads and close y'all's eyes. Thank you, God, for another week, and thank you, God, for another opportunity to come together and grow with you and lead our audience closer towards you, God. I pray that as we go into our messages for this podcast, that you are able to lead us in your righteousness. You're able to speak through us and open the ears and the hearts of the audience and allow them to receive whatever it is you have for them. And I pray that you empower me, Raul, and Jeremy here to be strong warriors and strong men, and that you're able to impart confidence and knowledge on us so that we can preach this word that we have to the best of our abilities. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Well, before we get started, want to make sure everything's ready. Are you ready?
With this mic, do I turn it off?
You don't have to turn it off. You just set it down.
Just set it down.
All right. Here's something new.
Just in case.
It has to focus real quick. Let's make sure it's set.
Are we in there?
Yeah, I tried this last week already too.
No, this is the first time. Guys, look, how's it sound? You gotta talk.
I know, I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for it to start popping up. Stream, bear with us. Wait, I think we're in there. Oh, we're in there. Yeah, we're in there. All right, let's go ahead. All right. Derek mentioned that I need to take off my shades while I'm speaking, so it's for you guys. But you guys ready? Can I go ahead?
Yeah.
Awesome. So as we get into this, I wanted to go ahead and kind of just start with this confession with an intro. I know there's different variations of this quote, but it goes like, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And I truly believe that a bad day is coming for all of us. A bad day, a storm, we're bound to make mistakes, we're bound to make bad choices, we're about to hurt loved ones, we're about to lose loved ones. It's just a bad day is coming for all of us. And in those times of trials and tribulations, I truly believe that's when our true colors come to show. In Genesis chapter 31 and Mark chapter 12, I think they are very beautiful examples of adversity, and it also shows us how to overcome them. with two of the greatest commandments. The first commandment being, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. And the second one being, you shall love your neighbor as you love yourself. And I want you guys to keep this in mind. We'll tie this back into, we'll come back to these here in a few minutes. But I wanted to go ahead and just start off with the first greatest commandment. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. So, me being me, I'll be completely transparent. Like, this is me kind of being a little bit vulnerable, a little bit honest, but I'm very stoic, and I like to keep my private matters to myself most of the time. Like, here and there, I'll mention some stuff to Derek, Jeremy, maybe to my parents, but for the most part, I'm very just to myself with keeping all my cards to my chest. And I say the past 3 years because that's when I started my entrepreneurship, but really the past year to 2 years, there's no other way to describe it, but I've gone through hell, and I want to make this very clear. It can always be worse. It can always be worse. I can be with a terminal illness. I can be missing a limb. I can be in a war-torn country. It can always be worse. I want to make that very clear. But I've gone through hell, and taking a look back at it, it sucks. From the betrayal of a brother, from another sister going through breast cancer, from struggles with my business, being on the verge of bankruptcy, getting sued almost a couple of times, from my parents splitting up, from not only losing one grandfather, but losing both grandfathers, being homeless for a short period of time, being without a car, losing a girl that I loved for the past 3 years, losing that, just one thing after another. And I'll be honest, like, there was so much doubt in my mind through that time, through that period, and I just kept on questioning God, like, why me? Why am I going through this? Why did I choose this path? I kept on asking, why am I this way? Like, why did I choose to be this way? Why is this me? And I was such on the verge of quitting. I was on the verge of going back to working a 9 to 5. I was on the verge of just calling it a day, settling. You know what? I'll go settle down with this girl, call it a day, go work a 9 to 5, and that's it. Call it done. It's cool. But I kept reminding myself of a few things. I kept reminding myself of, one, with God by your side, you can't lose. I know we as a whole mention that often. I kept telling myself, it's not to destroy you, it's for you. It's to build you. It's to build the man that you want to become down the line. And funny enough, and I know this is easier said than done, but to let go and let God. And I can think of this moment where I was talking to my sister, and I was telling her, I was just like, man, I just want to let go. And she was like, let go of what? I was like, oh crap, like, that's a good question. Let go of what? And now looking back at it, it's crazy after reading these two chapters, Genesis 31 and Mark chapter 12, and understanding that first greatest commandment to love our God with all your heart, your soul, your mind, and your strength, to let go and let God, it made me realize that I was doing that. I was doing that, and I didn't even realize it during the time. Going to God and saying, you know what, God, like, if this business is meant to be, if it's meant to work, let it be in your will. If not, take it away from me. God, with this woman, I really love her. I really care for her. If she's not the one for me, take her away from me. If not, allow me to grow and become better so I can quit hurting her and I can lead her properly. God, lay your healing hand on my sister, on my dad. Give me the strength to be able to be that rock for my people. I was doing it, and I didn't even realize that God was over here teaching me the number one commandment that he preaches to us in Mark chapter 12. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. Now, to proceed into the second greatest commandment, you shall love your neighbor as you love yourself. This one's really easier said than done. I'll be completely transparent. I think there's two sides to this. And the reason why I say it's easier said than done is because pride and ego is such a difficult thing to be able to use properly, and it's such an easy thing to use negatively, if that's a word.
I think you're good.
But with pride, like I said, you can use it as a positive thing. I take pride in having my faith. I take pride in my almighty God. I know he's powerful. I know with him by my side, I can overcome anything, any adversity. I take pride in coming where I come from. I take pride in having my people around me. Bless you. But on the other hand, it's easy to use that pride to protect yourself and to attack people. So I wanted to go ahead and tell this other story. I won't go too much into details just because I don't want to disclose that with you guys. But I wanted to talk about this story about when my brother betrayed me. So after all that happened, betrayal happened, whatever, my pride and my ego, and even people that were in my ear, were telling me, Raul, go talk your stuff to him. Go tarnish his name. Go ruin his reputation. Go tell people what actually happened. Go put your hands on him. I literally wanted to go fight him. That was my pride and ego talking right there. But I started thinking about it, and I always ask myself, what would Jesus do? It's a very simple question. Very simple question. What would Jesus do? Would Jesus go put his hands on his own brother? Would Jesus go talk down to his brother? Would Jesus go and tarnish his reputation to the world? We all know the answer to that. It's obvious. And as time went on, I kept also thinking and reminding myself, I look down to that. I look down at that pride and ego telling me to go do that stuff. I'm better than that. I have enough love and respect for myself not to allow myself to stoop down to that level. You shall love your neighbor as you love yourself. And at the end of the day, whether I like it or not, that's my brother. And I love him. I love him. Like I wouldn't be angry or emotional over it if I didn't care about him, if I didn't have that love for him. And our God is love. You shall love your neighbor as you love yourself. And I chose to love and respect myself, to not allow myself to stoop down to that pride and ego that was telling me to go do all this stuff against my own brother. There's a time and a place when you pick up your sword. And there's a time and a place where you choose to be a diplomat. You don't pick up your sword against your own people. You don't use your pride and ego to go attack your own people. That's not the kind of leader I want to be. And I don't believe that's the kind of leader that Jesus, God, calls us to be. So with all that being said, I think the chapter in Genesis and the chapter of Mark show two perfect examples of using these two greatest commandments. With Genesis, I turn back to Jacob and Laban. They had that tension there, man. And just to be honest, the woman didn't make it any better either. With her robbing, I think it was called a god, something like that, and hid it and stole it from Laban. But to make my point, God talked to Laban through a dream. I think it was through a dream. But he spoke to Laban. And then Jacob also knowing, God favors my people. God favors us. And I think it's such a beautiful thing when they come together. And I believe they built some sort of stone tower. I don't know how big it is. But they decide to make a covenant. Almost like a truce. To shake hands and go their separate ways. You shall love your neighbor as you love yourself. And they were so confident with God, loving him, that they decided to follow him. And in Mark chapter 12, perfect example of being a human. Jesus Christ. When the Pharisees and the Sadducees, they kept on testing him. They kept on doubting him. They kept on trying to set up some sort of trap to make him trip up, to make him say the wrong thing, to show the world that, hey, he's not right. He's a bad person. He's this, he's that. Right? But what did Jesus do? Jesus didn't pick up that sword against his own people. He decided to be a diplomat. And he was able to speak in parables, right? Parables, is that how you say it? Parables? To help everyone that was there, including the Pharisees and the Sadducees and all the scribes, to understand him. And they understood him. And a lot of them were amazed. Some even grew anger because of how right he was. So to bring it all together, I was able to take two key takeaways from this. One is to have faith. A bad day is coming for everyone. I know it is. We know it is. A storm is coming. But have faith. Have faith in your God, Almighty. That is going to be for you, and it's never against you. It's something I've been living by lately, especially after making it through those dark times, through those storms. Hard to kill. We survived that, so keep going. Second key takeaway. There is a time and a place to lift up your sword and fight. And there's a time and a place to be a diplomat, to speak. And I don't want you guys to confuse this. It doesn't mean be a pushover. It doesn't mean to be agreeable with everything. It doesn't mean that. There's a time and place where you can handle situations by communicating properly, by being understanding, agreeing to disagree, but never pick up that sword against your own people. And with that being said, I want to give you guys a huge thanks for watching the #1 podcast in the world. make sure you guys hit the like button. Make sure you guys subscribe, leave a comment, turn on those post notifications. And overall, I just want to give you guys a huge thanks for all the support. I want to give thanks to my brothers. And last but not least, I want to give thanks to the big man upstairs. I appreciate you guys for tuning in.
Oops. Oh, gotta hit the camera.
Okay, I see what. I mean,
that was a W, man. That was a W. That was a good presentation.
I got
man.
better.
I liked it. I liked it a lot, man. It felt very real, very vulnerable. Yeah, I enjoyed it. And I think, well, Jeremy, I don't know if you have any initial thoughts or questions.
I mean, right off the bat, I like the format, but it's like, man, Ro was hitting all my points already. Everything you were saying, I was like, bro, I thought about that, the Mark verse where it's like, love God with all your heart, mind, and soul. That was one of the ones that I got. Like I said, I didn't read it thoroughly, but I got the ones that caught my attention. That was one too. And how you were saying, bad days are coming, bad things are happening. I mean, I'm going through a bad week right now, but it's a bad day, a bad week, not a bad life. And those are all the points I want to make. I'm like, man, that was really good. And it actually gets me more engaged because it's kind of like you're venting. Not venting, but it's like, man, as a man, it's in society, it's looked bad upon to have feelings and talk and whatever and whatnot. But it's like, man, sometimes it helps more than you think. And you might not always have family. You pray and you tell God your prayers, but He can't always give you an answer and talk back right away. If you have someone to trust and give you back that feedback, whether it's the audience or whoever happens to come across it. It's kind of scary though, because you're throwing out your business for the trolls and haters to use as ammo, but it is what it is.
That's why I said hard to kill. A formidable foe.
But I like that. I mean, I'm gonna vent and I'm gonna talk my mess.
I just wanted to be genuine,
because that's the kind of the.
Did it have you hooked though? It was like,
did.
oh shit, like damn. Excuse my language, but
no, it had me hooked, and it goes back to like have fun with it. Don't treat it like a it's like
it felt good though. It felt good. Yeah, it's kind of a new format, and
because it kind of reminds me of like an English class. In English they say there's no right or wrong answers, type of thing. Because when you're interpreting the Bible, I really don't think there's right or wrong. I mean, there's wrong if you're like a complete left field, but your testimonies and your takeaways are yours, and that's what's beautiful about it.
Your connections, you being able to connect, and I think how Derek and I were mentioning with this new format, whether we do end up connecting with the same few things or whether we have the same points, we're all able to have like a different POV of those points, if that makes sense. Different opinions from those points. So I think that's what makes it very powerful and interesting. And like I said, I think this new format gets everyone hooked because I believe it's a little bit more genuine rather than just reading out of for example, out of the Bible or just reading out of a textbook. And I know for me at least, trying to put myself in the shoes of the audience, back in school and someone would read out of the textbook and stuff like that, I would read ahead, boom, be done, and I'd go talk to someone or just distract myself or fall asleep. So
no, I get you, and I don't know. I think this is that was really good, and I enjoyed it. And I think one of the points that you brought up that I really liked the most was knowing whenever to pick up your sword, knowing who to fight against and who not, because I think that's. You don't always have to be right. That's how I like to see it. And even if it's in conversations with family members of mine, my loved ones, sometimes it'll be super simple. It'll be talking to a family member about a certain topic, and they're so confident that they're right or something like that. Or maybe they have a criticism, or maybe they have, let's say we're talking about sports, right? Like, there's no need for me to argue with them and get so emotional about something like sports, right? I don't have to be right. I don't have to try to argue. And I guess it's just getting humbled time after time whenever you do get on your high horse and you ride your pride, and then next thing you know, now you're like in an argument and now you're hurting someone that you care about because you just had to be right. Like you just had to bring it up and show everyone that you know everything, you know. And I think taking yourself out of it, like one of the things that my broker always says is remove thyself, remove thyself, remove the emotion, right? Let's try to look at this, and it's not about us. To especially in this walk with Christ, it's always about trying to empathize with the person that you're seeing, and that's the really hard part. But how else am I supposed to love my neighbor if I'm not willing to understand them, if I'm not willing to see life through their lenses, if I'm not able to walk in their shoes, then how could I ever love them? And it's something that's not, I don't think it's accomplishable. So we have to make that concerted effort to, you know, empathize with them and say, you know what, I'm not going to fight you. Let's talk. I want to understand you. Doesn't mean, like you said, but we push over, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to, all of a sudden, you're going to be right about everything. But it means that instead of trying to fight, I'm going to try to understand. And it's a very powerful tool. It's very hard to do, but it's like that, you know, listen, don't talk, right? I want to hear you out, and then if we want to have a dialogue, we can, but I'm not trying to fight you.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I think something that's helped me at least to be able to achieve and be better at that is just telling myself, I don't want to be like that. I want to be better. Like, I won't allow myself to stoop down to that because that's just negative. And most of the time, that pride and ego stuff, it's just negative, and you can see it, you can sense it, you can hear it, feel it, and you're just like, I won't allow myself to stoop down to that. So
yeah, it's valid, and it's a great point that I just wanted to say. That was a point that really stuck out to me. But yeah, I mean, before we proceed forward, can you make sure that the camera, you want to adjust that camera over there? All right. Okay. So like zoom in a lot. I'll switch it to the other one. Hold on. What's that? No, not on that. Not on that screen. I mean, when I mean zoom in, I meant like walk. Like walk this forward? Yeah. Like bring it forward. Yeah, fix it up. Yeah, here, I'll fix it. We're all entertainment.
So I'm your entertainment for the night, and yeah, Jesus loves you. No, but I think the two greatest commandments, it's crazy just because, you know, I went through all this adversity in such a short period of time, and I didn't even realize it, that God is teaching me. God is teaching me the two beautiful, greatest commandments that we are blessed to have, and I didn't even realize it. You don't realize it until you actually go through it, so I think that's amazing.
Okay. Well, they can go black.
Not see the camera.
All right. I think we're good. I think we sound all right. Yeah, maybe y'all can double check me on that. Make sure we sound good. All right. How are we looking, guys? It's my turn now. We'll get this all situated the next time. We just, you know, trial and error. Okay, I think I'm gonna put the semi on here. Okay. All right, whatever. I'll let it droop down. Put it on this one, actually. Okay. All right. All right, everybody. I'm on the wrong one. All right. I got my handy dandy notes with me too. Alrighty, people. Today, the title of my message is Where is God in the Struggle? And I'm sure we've all asked this question before. God, where are you? And there's like how Raul brought up in his part, there's been times in my life where I had to look in the mirror and I was almost upset with who I was looking at. because in my mind, I had let myself down. Like whenever I was a child, I had such high standards. I had such high expectations that I set upon myself. And so whenever I came to adulthood and I was missing on all of those, I looked at myself and I thought, well, I'm a failure. I should be here by now, and I felt like I'm all the way down here, especially when I first came to Lubbock a couple years ago, and I was struggling like financially, where I had no money to my name, and had to deal with getting evicted, and I had to deal with a lot of things that were very inconvenient and hard on my confidence and hard on my faith. And at those times, I looked at my moment while I was in there, and I asked myself, God, where are you? Why am I struggling? Why does everything seem to be going wrong? I thought I was making progress. I thought I was taking a step forward, but it seems like I took one step forward and I took 5 steps back. And so what I want to leave y'all with today, the hope that I want to impart with y'all today, is that God is with you. And I'm going to use 3 points to demonstrate this. And the first part that I'm going to start off with is that God sees. God sees your effort. And what I'm starting with is Mark chapter 12, verse 41. I'll turn to that right now. Mark, and just to give some context as to what's going on here, Jesus is, he just got done talking to the Pharisees and the Sadducees about their hypocrisy, about how they're so caught up with looking religious, and they're trying to poke Jesus's eyes and try to get one over on him. They miss the whole point as to why the laws were given to them in the first place. And he was sitting down, and I'll just read it in Mark chapter 12, verse 41. He sat down opposite the treasury and began observing how the people were putting money into the treasury, and many rich people were putting in large sums. A poor widow came and put in 2 small copper coins, which amount to a small cent. Calling his disciples to him, he said to them, "Truly, I say to you, this poor widow put in more than all the contributors to the treasury, for they all put in out of their surplus, but she, out of her poverty, put in all she owed, all she had to live on." And I think Jesus is continuing, of course, his message about appearances and how he doesn't care about appearances. Here we see a widow, a poor widow. At this time, of course, women weren't really respected anyways, especially in the church. And to see a widow was pretty much like seeing someone that was homeless at this point. And I'd imagine that this widow walked in, and while she's giving, the last that she has, the little that she has, she's being mocked, she's being ridiculed, she's being looked down upon. And then here I am, and I'm like, wow, I can relate to that. I feel like I've been there before, where I felt small. I felt like I was weak, like I had nothing to give to God. But the difference between me and her is that this widow, she didn't allow her circumstance to determine her faith. And I think one of the biggest points I got out of this is Jesus wasn't impressed by the size of the gift. He was impressed by the size of the sacrifice, because she gave everything that she had. And sometimes we think we don't have anything to give. But God isn't asking you to give what you don't have. He's asking you to trust him with what you do have. And that's what this widow had demonstrated, was everything that I have, no matter how little it might be, I'm trusting you with it. And the funny part is, not the funny part, but the thing that I can relate to is, like, I remember whenever I was down terribly with with money that I shouldn't have, like tithes. I shouldn't have given money. I shouldn't have. But something inside of me was like, you know what? I feel like I need to. I have to give this money to God. Whenever, if you were to look at my finances, you would have said, Derek, there's no reason why you should be giving that. You need to pay rent. You need to pay your bills. You need to put gas in your vehicle. But in this part, I could see myself and like, God, I may not have anything. I may not have much to give, but this is what I got, and I'm giving it to you, and I'm giving it to you with a heart of joy. And sure enough, what happens? I eventually get out of that circumstance, that negative circumstance. I get a breakthrough. And for this, just the fact that Jesus recognized this woman and commended her, I think, man, like how much of a reward would it be just to be commended, just to be recognized by Jesus? But it's difficult to be in those hard times and think that no one sees you, that no one is watching, but yet God sees your effort. And then we move to Psalms chapter 6. And in Psalms chapter 6, David is writing a prayer of mercy. He's struggling right now. He's in a dark time. And in this, David's weak. He's crying. He's pleading with God, begging for God's mercy. He literally says, "O Lord, do not rebuke me in your anger, nor chasten me with your wrath. Be gracious to me, O Lord, for I am pinning away. Heal me, O Lord, for my bones are dismayed, and my soul is greatly dismayed." He's begging for God's mercy because he recognizes his own weakness. But what makes this so powerful is what he continues. He says, "But you, O Lord, how long? Return, O Lord, rescue my soul." And in verse 6, he says, "I am weary with my sighing. Every night I make my bed swim. I dissolve my couch with my tears. My eye has wasted away with grief. It has become old because of my adversaries." And I look at that and I'm like, well, I've said something similar to that before, and I'm sure y'all have too, where you're looking and you're telling God, I can't even get out of bed. I feel like I'm drowning. I'm literally drowning in my tears because it seems like everything is coming against me. And I'm begging God, please rescue me, save me, take this away from me, help lead me to the promised land, the thing that you promised me. But in the midst of all this, David says this in verse 8, "Depart from me, all you who do iniquity, for the Lord has heard the voice of my weeping. The Lord has heard my supplication. The Lord receives my prayer." And that's the second point that I wanted to leave y'all with, is God hears your grievances. Despite his weakness, despite his grief, despite everything that David is leaving with God, he's telling God, he's complaining, he's telling God all of his sorrows, he's crying. It says he equates it to drowning every night in his sleep. He says he makes his bed swim, but yet he doesn't not believe that God doesn't hear his prayers. As a matter of fact, he starts off weak, but then at the very end, he's proclaiming, "All of my enemies will be ashamed and greatly dismayed. They shall turn back. They will suddenly be ashamed." Now he's proclaiming that the God that is listening, that is hearing his grievances, is going to bring his enemies to shame, that he's going to make them greatly dismayed. So here we see the transition from being weak to crying with God, begging for mercy, and now knowing the fact that God is listening to our prayers, listening to our grievances, and that gives us confidence, that strengthens our faith, to be confident that, you know what, God's going to come through in the things that are coming against me, the people that are coming against me, the forces of the enemy, whether there's, like Raul said, there's bad things coming, bad things are coming. But all those negative things, God is going to make me stand tall, make me stand above them, even though in this current moment, in this current circumstance, I'm drowning and I have nowhere to go. I'm suffocating in all of my sorrows. God is going to lift me above that, and he's going to put all these negative things down. He's going to put them to shame. He's going to put it to rest. And I think that we struggle with vulnerability. We struggle with weakness. We struggle with it. And we want to come to God and be all high and mighty strong. God, look how good I'm doing. Look how strong I am. But God, he doesn't need you to be strong when you come to him. He wants you to come to him because you're weak. It's like how Jesus had mentioned earlier in Mark, or in Matthew, that he didn't come for the sick, or he didn't come for the healthy, he came for the sick. Hospitals are built to help out the people who are in need of it. It's not to, to make healthy people more healthy. And so whenever you are struggling, whenever you're going through these hard times, that's the time whenever God's opening his arms up to you and saying, hey, come to me. I hear you. It even says later on in Psalms that he collects our tears in a bottle, that he writes down every single one of our grievances in a book. God is pleading with you. He's begging you, hey, you know what? Whenever you're feeling weak, that's whenever you should come and lean on me. Let me give you my strength. And in the previous psalm, he was talking about how he was asking God to lead him down the path of righteousness. And so whenever we feel weak, that's whenever we need to go to God. So from what we saw, the widow had nothing financially. David had nothing left emotionally. But neither of them believed having little meant that they didn't have anything to give to God. That leads me to my third point. God protects what you can't. This is about Genesis 31. And in Genesis 31, we see Jacob and Laban. And Laban, at this point, he kind of resents Jacob. At first he started off and it was like they were all buddy-buddy. They were good friends because Jacob came and so did all the blessings that were promised to him, his father before his grandfather, and the rest of his lineage. But now Laban, he despises Jacob, and Jacob can sense it. And so God appears to Jacob in a dream and he tells him, go back to your father's house, go back. And so Jacob, has this plan to leave and take his wives and take what belongs to him and depart from Laban. And he doesn't want Laban to know, because he knows that if he tells Laban, that he's going to start a strife and he's going to try to take away his wives from him. And so he leaves. That's what he does. And the next day, Laban finds out that he had left, so he journeys to go and find Jacob so he can confront him. And while he's on this path, while he's going to Jacob, God visits Laban in a dream. And he says He says in verse, let me see. No. He says, be careful that you do not speak to Jacob either good or bad. He warns him because Laban, in his mind, he said that he thought he had the power to hurt Jacob. And that's kind of what he was going to do. So he finds Jacob, finds him, and he finds his wives. And he's looking for an idols that Jacob's wife, Rachel, had stolen and hidden. And so he's rummaging through the tent. And eventually Jacob gets frustrated. He gets angry. And finally he lets Laban know, he gives him a piece of his mind. Because prior to this, let's just set the table. For 7 years, he worked for the hand of Rachel. But whenever the 7 years had come up, the father, instead of giving him Rachel, gave him Leah. And so he said, well, if you want Rachel, then you're going to have to work another 7 years. So then he obliged and worked another 7 years. And then he had to work another, I forgot, 10, 14 years so that he could build his flock up. And each time he changed his wages. So he was trying to steal from him. He was mistreating him. And Jacob had put up with it the entire time. But finally he lashes out and he says to Laban in verse 36, what is my transgression? What is my sin that you have hotly pursued me? Though you have felt through all of my goods, what have you found of all your household goods? Set it here before my kinsmen and your kinsmen, that they may decide us between you two. These 20 years I have been with you. Your ewes and your female goats have not miscarried, nor have I eaten the rams of your flocks. That which was torn of beasts I did not bring to you. I bore the loss of it myself. You required it of my hand, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Thus I was. By the day, the heat consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep fled from my eyes. These 20 years I have been in your house. I have served you 14 years for 2 daughters and 6 years for your flock, and you changed my wages 10 times. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had not been for me, surely now you would have sent me away empty-handed. God has seen my affliction and the toil of my hands, so he rendered judgment last night. And I think here, this is just the demonstration of exactly what God does on your behalf. Maybe it looks like you're having to deal with one thing after another. Now you're having to put up with this for a couple of years. Now something else comes up with you for a couple of years. This whole time someone's trying to do you wrong. This whole time someone's mistreating you. Someone's taking advantage of you. And yet the whole time God is protecting you without you even noticing it. And it isn't until after the fact that you realize, oh shoot, this whole time God was on my side. And I think about the examples that we have in here and the examples in my life, in Raul's life, in Jeremy's life, where we've been done wrong. Think about the times where we've had things stolen from us, taken from us. And I think in the moment, you don't think that God is there. You're asking yourself back the first question, where are you? God, where are you? But he's been with us the whole time. He was there protecting me, protecting you, protecting Raul, protecting Jeremy. The whole time we thought that he wasn't there, there he was. All those times where I thought that I don't deserve this. I don't deserve to be, living paycheck to paycheck, being behind on rent, being behind on my bills. I don't deserve to be getting evicted. I felt so wronged. When that moment happened, and it was an unjust thing that had happened, I couldn't come to terms with it. And it hurt me. And in my heart, I felt like pure anger, rage. I couldn't even talk about it without getting emotional. Whenever a family member of mine had hurt me, for years I held on to it. I couldn't even sleep at night. I didn't have one single night of good rest for years, because in the back of my mind, I thought all I could feel was the hatred, or not even the hatred, but the anger, the unforgiveness that I had against my own brother. And so whenever I think about all those moments where I was having my peace stolen, whenever I was having my finances stolen, whenever I was having all these sleepless nights, I think, man, God, where were you? But I look back, and just like how Jacob realizes, is that God was with him the whole time. He was there with him, protecting him, even in the midst of all these transgressions that he was coming against. And so after letting Laban have a piece of his mind, what does he do? Does he take revenge? Does he strike him down? No. They strike a covenant, and they learn to forgive. And God is there as witness. So God sees, God hears, and God protects. Nobody thought the widow's offering mattered, but Jesus did. No one was there to hear David's cries, but God did. Laban had tried to harm Jacob, but God protected him. So here we have the widow struggling, David struggling, Jacob struggling, but all of them trusted that God was with them. But that means that they had to surrender something. Each of them surrendered something. The widow surrendered everything that she had, all of her finances. David surrendered his vulnerability, and Jacob surrendered his ability to control. They let God have everything. And so maybe faith isn't about having more, but it's about being willing to give to God whatever you do have. So that leaves me with a question for y'all. What do you have right now? Is it fear? Is it doubt? Is it a bad relationship? Is it struggling finances? What is it that you have? That is what God is asking you to trust him with. Give to him what you have. Give to God what you cannot carry. Trust him with what you can't control. So I bring back to the first question. Where is God in the struggle? He's been with you the whole time, and he's always on your side. So the hope that I want to impart with y'all today is no matter what circumstance you're in, God is still protecting you. He still hears you. Don't be afraid to go to God and give him all your grievances. Don't be ashamed of whenever you're struggling and you're like, man, I feel like I'm fighting the same battle. I feel like I can't get over this hump. It's been years. It's been months. It's been however long. And I'm still struggling with the same thing. I thought I'd be over this by now. Don't be ashamed to go to God with those things. You got to go to God with everything. Loving God with all your heart, soul, and mind doesn't mean just showing him the good things. It means going to him with the bad things and knowing that he still loves you despite that. And so we need to go to God and trust in him with everything, not just the good things. Through the good, the bad, and the ugly. I love how Jesus always creates this relationship like a bride and a groom, like it's a marriage. He tells us to love our wives like how Jesus loved the church. Why? Because that's the type of relationship that we should be comfortable building. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Just like how you accept your partner for who they are, that's what Jesus does, but he takes it to a whole nother level, because even though you do him wrong every single day, he's still there for you. He still hears all of your grievances. He's collecting your tears in a bottle. He's writing down every single sorrow, every single cry, everything. He has it written down, and he's protecting you. Even whenever you don't feel it, even whenever you don't recognize it, he is. So I want to leave y'all with hope. Where is God whenever you're struggling? He's right there with you. Don't give up. Continue to lean on him. Seek him. And the circumstances that you're in now are not going to be the circumstances forever. That's my TED Talk. That was good. Let's switch. Oh, I keep forgetting about this thing.
Oh, we got to click it.
Yeah. Okay.
Bad. But I think he had a good point. I think the part that I liked the most was when how you're mentioning that we don't necessarily have to go to God when we're all high and mighty, when we're in a winning season. And I think you used a good example with that one lady, the widow, where she went to God and gave her like all that she had already, and God looked at her and was appreciative because of the size of the sacrifice that she made, knowing that, hey, that was like all that she had, and she just gave it up to God. And I think that was a very beautiful point that you made.
Thank you.
I did realize too, though, it is gonna be kind of hard for the third person to go. Maybe it was a little bit easier for the when it's two, but you both took points that I had, and
Nah, bro. Nah.
like the good and the bad and the ugly aspect of it. It's true because I mean, lately I've been a little bit bad and ugly. I've had negative feelings. I've had, the ugly, and it comes with the good. People just want to be there for the good, but that's not how it works. That's not real life. You got to take it as come as you are. But that's one thing we're gonna have to tweak this a little bit. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I mean, but don't get me wrong, yours are both gonna be like significantly better than mine. But I like that.
Hey,
But now you know. This is your first go around.
This is your first go around. This is our second try. So, we actually have a little bit of XP.
Yeah. I felt more confident going into this one too. I felt more comfortable just because I think I did an actual practice run. I know I mentioned
also
this
noticed
last
you
time.
connected a common theme between each one.
Mhm.
They all lost something, whether it was
Mhm.
physical, emotional, or
Mhm.
that's one thing. I was like, okay, there's a common message. You connected something between all three. That was one thing I really enjoyed.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I try to structure it like if I was preaching, honestly.
Yeah, and I felt like I was in church for a little bit. I was like, dang, those are some good messages, and it's you're flowing. Uh, that's one thing I enjoyed. There's a lot more heartfelt. I can tell a lot more intentional, which obviously that's the goal. But it is kind of weird missing out on the stories now, like reading them live, and I mean, you already know them, but it's kind of hard for sometimes, like maybe the audience if they didn't read it. But you did a good on explaining what was going on for someone who might not have read it.
Mhm.
So,
But that's the reason why you need to tune in
yeah.
every single week, because we tell you ahead of time what we're reading. All right, so that way y'all know. And we do have Brother Jerome and
I'm
what
ready.
his message is. So, I mean, if you're ready, you think you're ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do this.
You got the
I gotta speak at this one, right?
yeah.
Can I turn this one off? Did you click it or? Yo, okay.
You see like a little palm. You want to throw that to the floor?
Oh, this?
Yeah. Just move it. Yeah.
I'll just do it like that for now. Alright. Okay, forgive me, guys. I don't have my Bible with me. It's somewhere in the boxes and stuff currently being unpacked. Starting a new journey. And I relate it heavily with Genesis. I don't want to start with Genesis. What's really caught my eye is Psalm 6, specifically with King David. In the beginning, we see that he's crying, he's weeping, he has so much stress and pressure, not only from, his friends and family, but from enemies even. And sometimes the enemies, you never know when you're going to get caught lacking, when they're going to try their hardest to come at you, or when they might see you down and think that that's the prime opportunity to come and kick you while you're down. And lately, I've had these negative feelings. I felt like King David. There's been, full transparency. We're all transparent here. We're being intentional. And I'm going to let this happen organically. I'm not going to try and throw no filler words, be some hot shots. Genuine feelings here and connecting to what I read. Lately, there's been maybe once or two times where I've wanted to shed a tear, and kind of like from Cloudy with the Chance of Meatballs, I felt like the officer, get back in there, men don't cry, men are strong, men are supposed to do this, men are, don't be weak, there for a minute, I felt a weak, sad, lustful man that has no clear direction, but I realized like that's not me, that's the person I killed a long time ago when I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, and I have the date for it now, and I got closer, and I have people telling me, "Oh, you're so mean, and you're so straightforward," and I agree, but I also say the truth hurts. My delivery can be a little bit better, and that's something I'm working on, right? But at the end of the day, I see it as I'm not here to be a yes man. I'm not here to be a pushover. There's definitely ways I can address things and be more intentional, be more nice about it. because lately I've felt like King David, and I've wanted to cry, and I've prayed, and I've gotten to dispute with two people that I was really close with and I was talking to all the time, and all of a sudden, for my own ego and my own selfish reasons, I cut that tie, right? And it was in a moment of anger, immediately regretted it, and I haven't experienced that or went through that in a long time. Everything's been smooth sailing. That my anger issues and my evil sins, all that, those were becoming stagnant. And I was like, okay, I'm winning, and all of a sudden it flared up, and it happened out of nowhere, and it quite coincidentally happened where I'm coming on a big transition, excuse me, in my life. Moving in with the boys, being on my own, a little bit more independent in a bigger city. Kind of, we can go back to Genesis now. The main theme of Genesis 31, where Jacob and Laban were disputing, had a toxic relationship, and eventually you see Jacob put those boundaries up, and he's like, "Hey, I'm leaving. I don't want to deal with this. I gotta choose me. I gotta choose my happiness. I gotta choose my family." And that was one of the main ideas that I've got from Genesis, and I can relate to that because the past 2 3 years I've already moved 3 times. I've never had a really true place to call my own. I've lived in dorms, I've stayed with my parents, and it's kind of crazy because I can put everything I own into my car and a charger. I don't need a truck. I don't need a U-Haul. It's just everything I owned in my name, everything I worked for, I was able to bring here, and I was happy with that, and I was okay. And you have people being like Laban, "Oh, stay here, be comfortable in Plainview. It's easier to be save up financially here. You'll be comfortable. You don't have to be, out there and about. Who knows what's gonna happen? Wrong place, wrong time." And that's fear mongering, something that Laban would do to Jacob. But I want to be like Jacob. Here in Genesis 31:3, it said, "Then the Lord said to Jacob, go back to the land of your fathers and to your relatives, and I will be with you." He's going to be with you no matter where I go, whether I stayed in my hometown or whether I did this transition in my life. And going to you, it kind of is a little scary. As a man, I'm not supposed to feel these negative feelings, but I've I've come to realize I'm done with what society tells us to do. I'm done with saying, "Oh, you're supposed to graduate in 4 years. Oh, you're supposed to move out your parents by 18. Oh, you're supposed to have a wife and kids by 25." I'm done with all that, and it's on my own time, on God's timing and God's will. If God's okay with me moving in with my boys, okay. If He's okay with me finishing school in 3 years, okay. 5, all right. Doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, I'm building a lifestyle, I'm building a career, and a part of my career and lifestyle, I want to implement Jesus. And to go back and combat what people say, "Oh, you're so mean," and like I've had this comment thrown at me earlier this week, and it kind of hit me kind of hard, where it says, and I knew this was going to happen, and this is going to happen. It's not the first nor the last, where they said, for someone who reads the Bible and talks a lot about Jesus, you still got some issues. And I'm like, you know what? I do, and I will admit that. I'm a Peter in 2026. I could see Jesus himself come down and split the Red Sea or stop a meteor in its tracks, and I would still worry about how am I going to pay my bills, or the grade I'm going to get, or whatnot. Things that won't even matter, right? But I could see that for myself and still have doubt. But nonetheless, I've been transitioning into where no one can tell me anything except God. If God says no, then okay. If He says yeah, let's do it. If He doesn't have a problem with anything that I'm doing, then why should anybody else? And I think that's kind of a selfish way of looking at it. It's also a truthful, hurtful way that some people might take, and that's something that I'm trying to adjust on. So those were the two messages that I got from Genesis and Psalms. Mark, on the other hand, that one was kind of a heartfelt story, and with the women, and it just goes to show that, man, if you just give the shirt off your back to someone, that's more than enough. It doesn't have to be some grand scale. You often hear stories where uh, usually it's the homeless people that are giving, what little they have, or sharing a meal with someone, and you go to a rich neighborhood and they're gonna look at you with disgust. Most of the time, not all, but that's generally what it's like. So to see that lady give only two, I think it was 2 coins that she had, that heartfelt gesture, although a small scale, was more than if someone who gave everything they've had and still lived in sin and still didn't mean it, and we're like, okay, I did my part, I gave my tithe. Kind of like going to church on Sunday and then being the mean to the waitress or waiter after you go eat, right? No, much rather go and be there and not give anything. Maybe it's $1, but then I know my heart's genuine because I'm going to go and help and bless other people afterwards. and not completely flip a script. So moving on a little bit from Mark, right here it says Mark 12 for 43-44. Jesus knows that the poor widow's small offering is greater than the large contributions of the wealthy because she gave everything she had to live on. Now that's scary. I know we've even seen in past readings where it's harder for a man to get, or it's harder for a camel to get through the eye of needle. Hold on, let me rephrase. I got it. I got it. It's easier for a camel to get through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to get into the gates of heaven. See, and I still remember these things. And when people say, "Oh, you're still mean, you're still this," and I'm like, you know what? I may be this and I may be that, but I'm gonna be transparent. And regardless, no matter how you view me, people are gonna know Jesus. No matter how far I stray again, I will no longer stray as far as I did or as long as I did when I first came back to Him. But I'll have my hiccups. I'll have my Peter moments. I'll have times where people can use ammo against me and say, "Oh, yeah," point the finger. But at the end of the day, when the good's happening, it goes back to my boy Derek's message. You got to take it with the good and bad and ugly. Yeah, the good. Oh, I'm able to make my own schedule. I'm going to school without having to pay out of pocket, which is a blessing, for a lot of people. People would do anything to not be able to pay for school. Moving in with my boys, growing, you know, that's all good, and people want to see that. People, oh yeah, that's when they cheer you. But when you have those late nights where you're like King David and crying, and you're looking up, wondering, what do I do next? Where did I go wrong? What happened? You have no one to talk to. It feels like you're all alone. Because lately I did feel alone, and I know I wasn't. I know I had my boys. I know I had God. But at the end of the day, it's like sometimes you want someone to talk back to you. Sometimes you want that feedback, and God can't always, be right then and there. Sometimes He's gonna let you enjoy the suck, as we always say. He's like, no, you stay there for a little bit, marinate. That's where you're gonna grow. And lately, that's what happened, and I felt, and it was weird because I took a huge step back. I was doing this, right, and I was like the stock market, and boom, hit a red dip, and I got thick skin growing over me. I felt my walls coming back up. I felt my heart being hardened. I wasn't soft. I wasn't showing my feelings anymore, and I was like, whoa, where did this come from? That wasn't the drum we saw, a few weeks ago. What happened? A lot happened. And when that happens, sometimes you don't have people to talk about it. Yeah, I can pray about it, and God's going to either solve it right then and there, or as we say, He's going to let me sit in the suck for a little bit. But things are always going to turn up and turn around. So those were the three things that I got from those readings. And I kind of also realized too, all this negative stuff was happening when I wasn't reading the Bible as much, when I took a little break from the pod, when I wasn't being genuine or intentional with my prayers, when I was kind of falling back on sin. That's when everything was going back downhill. So then it got me thinking, the question is, when's the last time you prayed? When's the last time you opened up your Bible? When's the last time you talked about Jesus? Not just to yourself, but a friend. It doesn't have to be some big thing. When's the last time you said His name to somebody? For example, I've been spending as much time with my mom as I could before things get hectic and busy, and we watch Big Brother. That's one of our bonding things that we do. And during Big Brother, it's an international TV show, and the fellow that got evicted, he has said his goodbyes and whatnot. The first thing he did was said, first and foremost, I want to give him, all the glory to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. If you don't know who He is, look him up. He's a really great guy. Quick like that. And I was like, wow, this guy on national TV dropped a bomb like that, and he didn't throw no Bible scriptures. He didn't throw nothing. He just, mentioned His name. And that's something that I'm going to, want to do. And I realize that when I get distant from that is when things start to go downhill. And like Roel mentioned, bad things are going to happen. Bad things do happen, but it's a bad day, bad week, might even be a bad month, but not a bad life. Because in the grand scheme of things, however old you are, that one day of that age, God hopefully is going to grant us 50 plus more years. So and you look back at Him like, well, what was I tripping over? So that's one thing that I will take to heart is, when's the last time I read the Bible? Oh, it's been a minute. Oh, no wonder things are going wrong. Oh, no wonder I'm feeling negative. No wonder I'm feeling mad. No wonder I'm feeling, like the world is ending. But then if you can answer, oh, I read the Bible yesterday, then maybe you won't be as stressed out. Because I know as soon as I start talking and as soon as I get back into the flow of things, I feel better. even though the situation is still there, but I'm no longer avoiding it. But like I mentioned, I want this to be a lifestyle, a career, kind of like the gym. You know, you can't just go to the gym and expect gains overnight. You have to do it for a long period of time. You have to implement it into what you want to do. And that's the goal for Confessions Podcast, the #1 podcast in the world. Subscribe if you haven't already. Let's go.
WWW. Round of applause for Brother Jerome. I think he did great.
I like this format. It really gives more connection, and you can really apply your stories.
It's more
the
intimate.
readings. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more intimate. Like now I feel like the audience is able to getting to know us, who we really are, and get to know more, like relate to us personally, because before we wouldn't share as much about who we were. We were just reading, and that's not a bad thing, right? It wasn't bad what we were doing. It gives people the opportunity to read the word, and same with us. But it's different whenever we're able to connect the word to our lives, because that's what makes it feel human, what makes it feel real, what makes it feel relatable, so that the audience no longer just says, well, these guys, they're reading the Bible, but they're Bible believing Christians, and I bet their lives are great. But whenever they get to see, whenever we pull back the curtain, they get to see into our lives and hear about my eviction, being poor, and all the loss, and then they hear about the struggles with loved ones, and the feeling of being, like straight away. Like whenever we're able to share those things with the audience, now they get to connect with it. Now they get to see themselves in us. Like, oh, I see myself in Raul. I lost a loved one, or I see myself in Jeremy. I'm butting heads with my people that I thought that I love, and maybe they see themselves in me, like, man, I'm struggling everything financially. I'm getting evicted out of my house, whatever. It's like they're able to see themselves in us. And that's the ultimate goal.
And I like that. I like this idea. Of course, getting the kinks out the way, it's gonna get better and be more prepared. But I like the direction, and I mean, we pull the curtains back, and you're like, dang, Jerome's a Peter in 2026. Yeah, man. I see.
I like that though. I like that statement. I like that statement. Peter in 2026. I like that.
Because when we read, I'm like, bro, like he saw it himself. I could see Jesus himself and come down and stop a meteor dead tracks, and I'd be like, man, rent's tomorrow. How are we gonna pay? It was like, bro, you just see this.
But I like.
I'll be feeling lately.
But I like how you close it about how you're. What your life is now is not how it's going to be forever. And I really like that, because it kind of goes back to, we're so obsessed with the expectations that we set for ourselves, that God, he didn't set the expectation for you. He didn't tell you, hey, by 25, you better be this, and that. He didn't say that. And it's kind of part of, in your message and in mine, and even Raul's, like, God, he's just asking you to come. Like, he's asking you to be the best you can. He's not asking you to be this grandiose, successful millionaire with a wife and kids and stuff like that. He's just, Jeremy, just be you. Do your best. Get to know me. Love your neighbor. Do the best you can. And that's all he's asking. And
people really don't see that it's that simple. Just do what you can, because they fall so. I mean, I was a victim of it. They fall victim to the pressure of society. Oh, I gotta finish in 4 years. If not, my family thinks I'm the failures. Like, and not only that, you just stress yourself out, give yourself these health problems. Then you wonder why you're so sick and unhealthy. Well, man, stress will kill you faster than a bullet, and that's one thing I'm trying to. Even lately too, when I was butting heads real quick with my family members, I found myself. I'm so quick to apologize now. I mean, I'll give it a few days, let it sting a little bit, but I'm like, nah, like, I don't want to hold a grudge. I don't want to start a new chapter on bad terms. Like, I said things. It's true. Maybe my delivery could have been a little bit better, but maybe it's like a look in the mirror, the log in your own eye before you point out someone else's, right? And that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's like, hey, if you're not with this, you're against this type of thing, like with God.
No, but it's true. Having the ability to look yourself in the mirror and recognize, okay, I'm not perfect. Like, I can't judge. I can't not forgive. Like, kind of similar to you. Like, I find myself very quick to forgive, because it's very humbling whenever I look at my life and I'm like, man, how many times do I betray God? Like, how many times am I begging God? How many times am I David begging for the mercy of God? And yet I'm trying to hold a grudge against someone that, that I love.
It doesn't even matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. So But I don't know. I don't know. I think that's it for today. I don't know.
I think it was amazing.
That was good. I
Pretty
like
good.
that. Despite the technical having to manually switch,
all
we'll be
Jeremy's
on our
fault.
way. We're gonna
We'll figure it out.
we're gonna cook up something nice in the
We're
in
gonna
the room
iron
next
out
door.
the we're gonna iron out the kinks. Yeah,
The wrinkles.
yeah. We'll get better as we go, but I think the content in and of itself
The
is
content
pretty
is
good.
really in a good
Pretty good.
direction.
So, without further ado, thank y'all all for tuning in, staying. If you've listened this whole time, and if you've watched all of our content, you're still with us, even though we've missed going live for a couple weeks, even though we're not posting as much as we used to. I thank y'all for staying with us and sticking with us. I promise we're gonna start racking things up again. Like how Jeremy said, there's been a lot of transitioning, but getting back into the swing of things, and this right here is a great launching pad. So thank y'all for tuning in. We love y'all. #1 podcast in the world. Subscribe if you haven't already. Catch you on the next one. Peace.